Hey, you know what? We've talked about this before. Every so often, an outlet will put out a list of some kind, right? And almost a week ago, there was a list that came out from BET, Black Entertainment Television. They put out a list of the top 15 greatest Black wrestlers ever,
Yeah, yeah.
right? In celebration of it was obviously last month was Black History Month. Going into WrestleMania season, wrestling's the hot issue. Everybody's got a wrestling list right now, and BT put out their 15 best Black pro wrestlers list. Now, I saw this link going around, and as soon as I saw it, maybe in about 15 seconds, I sent you the link.
Okay.
It was while you were actually at MSG. Um, and it happened to be a commercial break, thankfully. And I sent you the list because, sometimes you've said this, and I agree. Times you feel perhaps overlooked for your place.
Yeah, yeah.
At times you get your props, sometimes you don't. Sometimes they put certain people above you on the king list, which come on, we all know. We all know who the greatest king of all time is. That's
I
not
mean,
even a question.
yeah, yeah.
Jerry the King Lawler would say that King Booker is the best king of all time. Okay. Like that's how solid. It's like the First Amendment.
That's
You have the freedom of speech, right to protest, and King Booker is the best king of all time.
Hey, man.
But this list came out of the 15 Black wrestlers, and you landed at number one on the list as the greatest Black wrestler of all time. Now, I do want to make the distinction that you're one of the greatest wrestlers of all time in general, regardless of cultural background. But it has to be significant for you representing where you come from and who you've represented and what you've meant to so many people, a part of that community over the years. It's got to mean a lot to be number one.
Well, it's a hell of a lot higher than Mark Henry rated me.
I think Mark Henry had you like 8 or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Carlos Colon ahead of you.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy, man. But no, I appreciate that, man. I really do. My body of work has been, exponential, man. It's been vast. And I'm still working my butt off to, make sure this next generation, find their way through this journey as well. And it's not easy. It's so many pitfalls and so many holes and bumps in the road. Landmines you can, fall on, So I'm trying to, let these young guys see how you could be really, really successful in this business. But think about parlaying that success into whatever you're going to do next. I think that's what's really, really important. But for me, the journey was always going to work, putting my boots and my hard hat on. A lot of times I felt like I had my stethoscope on around my neck because I felt like it was 24/7, man. I was on call 24/7. We was on a phone call just last week. I'm trying to raise some money for my man Knobs with the Nasty Boys. And he's going through a little something right now. So, guys, if you're out there, if you're listening, you can support Brian Knobs do that. But we were talking about a story that we used to always talk about. I used to always, say in the locker room. And Chavo Guerrero, he brought this up as well. He was like, man, congratulations, on the honor. And he said, man, you always used to say you was top 5 in the world, in that locker room. And say you would throw it in Bagwell. He was like, man, we all had to listen to it. I always used to say I was top 5 in the world. So many people, they would say, well, what number are you? And it really doesn't matter. I know I'm hovering. Sometimes I might be up here. Sometimes I might be down here, but I'm top 5 in the world, bar none. And then for something like that to come out, kind of like prove my point, man. I always thought I was pretty good at what I did, perform. I never thought I was the best wrestler in the world, but I always thought I was a really, really good performer. And that's what the difference was as far as I always said top 5 performers. I never said top 5 wrestlers. That was the caveat. But no, man, it's a beautiful thing, man. That my people know how hard I've worked and what I've brought to this game and what I left as well. So now, man, it's a beautiful thing, man. It really is.
I want to read. Can I read the passage from it here just so we can put it in context? So they spend a lot of time right there. Half the article is just having to list the titles that you won. But it says, in a lot of ways, Booker T has achieved more than any other black wrestler to ever lace up a pair of their boots. A double Hall of Fame inductee, both as a single act and as a tag team duo with Stevie Ray, a world champion and a valuable asset to the company who didn't know they needed him so much when they took a dip in 2006. Booker T became so valuable for the WWE and wore so many hats when they needed him that Kurt Angle once said that Booker was one of the 5 greatest to ever do it. How many wrestlers popular enough to run for the mayor of Houston? It also says your best match was against The Rock at SummerSlam 2001, and you were active from 89 to 2012. I thought you started in 90.
90, yeah, they got that's a miss. That's it.
People put 89 all the time. They try to date you.
I don't know what I had. Try to make me older than I am.
And by the way, even 2012 is kind of inaccurate. You just had a match in 2025.
The match with The Rock, I thought it was a good match, as well. But I don't know if that was my best match or anything like that. But a lot of people say that was a really, really good match.
It was a great match.
But for me, it was just another day at the office. It was just work. I always said, if you remember the matches, you're not really doing your job. You know what I'm saying? Because I always thought it was for the fans to remember those matches that did come remind me one day, and then I go back, oh yeah, I remember that, whatnot. But I was always thinking about what was next. I was always thinking about the next act. I was always thinking about the next show, the next opponent, the next town, the fans who I was gonna have to, perform in front of next, So for me, there again, just all been work, but the work paid off at the end of the day. Because when I got in this business more than 30 years ago, I said, when it was over with, I just want my name to ring with the best wrestlers that have ever did it. And I feel like I've achieved that. I feel like, my name ring, right there with all of the greats that have ever done this. So I appreciate BT for honoring me and giving me that honor and putting praise on me like that, man. It means a lot. It really does. Because I've said it, you've heard me say it, I don't think I get my props, but there again, people can look at, BET and they can say, well, they just like Booker T more. I say that all the time too, but no, man, we've had so many guys that have come up, of color that have put their work in. And I'm just glad I was one of those guys that put the work in from the beginning all the way to the end. That's the thing is not making it all the way to the end was the thing that I thought about. I wanted to finish that journey. I wanted to let, the world see, man, this brother went through it and he did it his way. And boom, at the end of the day, boom, he's still standing. He's still standing. He's still standing tall. And as well as, like I say, parlaying, my success. I mean, I didn't, go to school, for journalism or anything like that. I was just playing around as a commentator, and they look, when you want to try this, you know what I mean? I don't care if it's game show. I'll act like I'm a game show host. I mean? Don't matter what it is. I remember this guy told me a long time ago, man, if you act like it 9 times out of 10, people believe it. You know what I mean? So that's one way to actually, find your way, making it through this life. And it, might take you all the way, to places you never imagined or dreamt, just like me. My first trip on a plane, I was on my way to Japan. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? I've never been on an airplane before. So dream big, people. Dream big. It's out there for the taking. Stick around, guys. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute.
Why don't we go through the list for a second? Should we go through it?
Let's just do it. Let's see who's on the list.
All right, so let's go from 15. Let's start at 15. Because I will say this list had a couple surprises for me. Okay, number 15, Jazz. Number 14, Shelton Benjamin. 13, Naomi. 12, Jacqueline. 11, Big E. 10, oh no, Devon made the cut. 10, Devon Dudley.
Devon made the cut.
Yeah.
You gotta be kidding me.
You're starting to like this list less, huh? Number 9 is the wonderful Bianca Belair. Number 8, Bobby Lashley. Number 7, Ron Simmons. Number 6, JYD. Number 5, Sasha Banks. Number 4, Mark Henry. Number 3, Kofi Kingston. Number 2, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And number 1, Booker T. Anything stand out to you as a, like, I mean, look, there's no Big Cat Ernie Ladd, I know, and I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. Bobo Brazil is a name that gets thrown out a lot for what he did for the business. Hacksaw isn't on there. Butch Reed. There's a few names that you could maybe potentially throw in there in that top 15 mix.
I thought JYD would be a little higher, and and Ron would be a little bit higher as well.
Yeah,
just those two guys. Just because I know I wouldn't be here without both of those guys. In a sense, I'm serious. JYD was that guy that I watched when I was a kid, and man, I idolized him. I was like, wow, he was the guy. He was our Superman as far as wrestlers go, as far as black wrestlers. He was the guy. And Ron Simmons, being the first black world champion in WCW, and me having so many moments with Ron, so many times off camera with Ron Simmons, where he would just schooling me to the game, dropping knowledge on me, and getting me prepared for what was next. I mean, I perhaps Ron was getting me ready to become world champion, and I didn't even know it. I swear to God, because he used to just be giving me those little nuggets all the time, man. It would just be him and I, and he would just be spitting game to me, and man, that's why I feel like somebody like Ron definitely should be a little bit higher on the card because he does so much.
And to me also, there's an omission of Ron Killings. What Ron's done and his run, he was NWA World Champion in TNA, what he's been able to do in the WWE for the last, 15 years this run's been, this most recent run. Ron's, in contention too. And he's the ageless wonder.
I feel that too, man. Seriously. So many guys deserve to be a part of that list. I really, really believe that. Maybe they should have did a top 25.
Yeah, because there's at least 10 guys I could think of right now. That's like 10 guys and girls that you could throw in that mix. And you know what? Like what was the top 3? You Rock. Let's look at the top 3 again. You Rock, and who was number 3? Kofi. I mean, I could actually live with that. And JYD. I think my top 5 would be you, Rock, JYD, Ron, and Kofi.
I can see that.
Just like Kofi's run too.
Kofi's had a hell of a run, man. I mean, he's had a hell of a run, man. And that's, you got to look at it, from those specs. To be honest, it's like when I look at a guy like The Miz, you got to look at it from those specs. How many. How long, a guy had been around, how many years, he's been on top, you know what I mean? How his longevity has played out as far as, him being in shape from point A to point B, so it's got so, I mean, how many injuries, how many times, it's got so much to do with, as far as guys being, part of that. But yeah, man, seriously.